As a huge fan of superhero movies and TV shows, I generally watch all Marvel and DC content that is out there on streaming platforms. But one of the few Marvel projects that I had missed out on until now was Agatha All Along, the spin-off from WandaVision, which I already thought was really bad. The reason why I avoided Agatha All Along ever since its release is just that Agatha might just be the most irrelevant character to the MCU to get her own show, so the interest was never really that high, and she didn't really seem like a particularly cool character. I mean, she's a witch, that's kinda uncommon, I guess, but she has the same kind of vague, undefined, plot-convenient powers as characters like Wanda and Captain Marvel. But when I saw this show in the Golden Globe nominees section on Disney Plus, I thought I just had to finally watch this thing, especially considering it's only 9 episodes. So the show starts out in Westview, and Agatha is still under Wanda's spell, but she's a detective now for some reason, but I don't really get the entire situation here. It becomes clear later on that she's just imagining all of this and really believes it to be happening, which is kind of odd because it's mentioned in both this show and WandaVision that the people under Wanda's control are aware of what's happening to them, they just can't do anything about it, which kind of contradicts her actually believing that she's a detective. She also meets a teenager who broke into a house who is later revealed to be one of Wanda's imaginary sons, Billy from WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness. The first episode also has one of the single corniest lines I've ever heard in TV history.
The things that you're roasting me for are the things that make me dangerous. So you want to keep poking the bear?
She's really whipping out the TikTok dark psychology moves on Billy here. She also calls him a loser for being asleep between 1 and 3 a.m, which is just hilarious. Like, let the man get some sleep. But yeah, Billy lifts a spell on Agatha and the two decide to try and go down what is called the Witch's Road, a journey that can grant you one wish at the end, basically, if you manage to complete it. To do so, they must first put together a coven of 4 more witches to be able to access the road. So they go and recruit Bellatrix Lestrange, Jada Pinkett Smith, Player 149 cosplaying as Ghost Rider, and your grandmother, and start singing a song to begin the ritual, while 7 Dementors start hunting them, known as the Salem 7. It's also worth noting that the way they recruited Alice just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's like the manager was looking for any reason to fire her ass and the opportunity just presented itself there. Agatha appears to put something in Billy's pocket and then tells him to run for the door, and then Alice tackles him as she should. It's her job. And then just immediately gets fired. It's funny because you can even hear the alarm going off at the door, so she clearly did nothing wrong and he still just fires her on the spot. The entire second episode just kind of feels like a large stupid fetch quest where the witches all hate Agatha but are convinced to join her after like 1 sentence. Like, you know for all of them that eventually they're gonna agree to go with her, but you just have to wait until Agatha and Billy convince them, and it's not very interesting to watch. When they actually enter the Witch's Road, Granny just waddles off and starts sinking into the dirt, and when they rescue her from the brink of death, she just says,
Cheesy! Cheesy!
Which I found to be massively amusing, to be fair. In the third episode, they go through the first trial where the middle-aged moms have to drink wine. The wine poisons them, however, and they now have to cook up a potion basically as an antidote. While they're doing this, Jen at one point is instructing Billy to stir this concoction counterclockwise, and when he hesitates to do so, she tries to dumb it down by saying, "to the left," which once again had me chuckling. The dialogue in general in this show is just terrible all throughout, especially in the first 6 episodes or so. Also, the trial here is such a boring trope of how they have to face their biggest fear in the form of a hallucination. There really isn't any sense of danger either because, you know, they're just hallucinations and they end before anything bad could even happen. Jen also forgets one of the ingredients but then remembers it after a 5-second pep talk, which is just there so they can make it out of there at the exact last second to try and build some suspense. Also, your grandma dies, but no one cares because she's just an irrelevant comedic relief character. There is absolutely no emotional bond to this character at all. Agatha didn't even remember her name. Speaking of Agatha, she basically tries to fuck everyone over and be as stubborn and unhelpful as possible throughout all of this. Right at the beginning of episode 4, she keeps this theme going by desperately trying to get everybody to split up into 2 groups, even though they already know that the road can be dangerous and that the Salem 7 are trying to kill them. Also, if the last trial is any indication, they would need all of them to complete the next one anyway. But yeah. Jen also at one point says that the group wouldn't have survived the last trial without her expertise, and Alice responds by saying, "Not all of us did," which is kind of stupid. I mean, yeah, Sharon died, but it's absolutely clear that without Jen's expertise, they all would have died, so it's just a dumb thing to say in that situation. They also somehow come to the conclusion that they desperately need a green witch to progress, even though they didn't take one with them in the first place, considering that Sharon was just a random person anyway. But they summon Rio, who is an ex-girlfriend of Agatha's and later revealed to be the personification of death, basically. In the next trial, they have to play a song to lift the curse that has befallen all of them, and Billy gets thrown through some glass. There is absolutely no reason, by the way, why any of them can suddenly play not only the instruments, but also the exact song they need, or how they know the lyrics. Also, no one realizes that Billy has a huge glass shard in his stomach and is bleeding out until after their glorious performance somehow. At this point, I just want to mention how terribly unfunny the humor in this show is again, and how it makes everything up to episode 7 come across as very goofy. The few serious scenes just don't feel consequential at all when you know that some stupid joke is just around the corner. They then flee from the Dementors by riding actual brooms, and Rio lets out the most generic cartoon witch cackle of all time. They get to the next trial and have to communicate to a ghost using a Ouija board. And when they first get the name of Mrs. Hart, I almost died laughing because when I was watching with subtitles on, I genuinely thought they were about to be haunted by a Mr. Shart. At one point, the lights go out and Agatha disappears, to which Billy says,
Oh my gosh, what's happening?
Like, come on, man. But yeah, the ghost turns out to be Agatha's mom, who possesses her and even tells them that Agatha was born evil, and all they have to do is leave to win the fucking minigame. But for some reason, they try to save Agatha, even though she has only screwed them over so far, and even kills Alice by sucking up her powers in the process here. She only stops after Billy conjures her dead son, called Nicholas Scratch, to convince her. After the trial, Agatha provokes Billy and he suddenly gains mind control powers and throws the remaining 3 witches into the quicksand dirt, seemingly killing them. Then comes episode 6, which I found to be the worst episode of the series. It's basically a long flashback that explains that Billy is just living in the body of a dead teenager called William, which he inhabited after the bubble around Westview collapsed and he got disintegrated during WandaVision. How does this make any sense? Billy is basically a figment of Wanda's imagination. There is no way that you can tell me that she can create genuine humans with souls or spirits or whatever out of nowhere. She would basically be God. It's also revealed that his goal is to be able to reincarnate his brother Tommy at the end of the Witcher's Road, who also never existed in the first place. Also, Agatha is somehow alive, I guess, and for some reason Billy still trusts her, which makes no sense. She has basically been selfish and betraying people the entire time, and he just doesn't care. The next episode starts with them reminding the audience that Rio is still a character in this TV show because she has done absolutely nothing so far and nobody noticed that she disappeared after the last trial. Lily and Jen are revealed to be alive because they fell into some underground tunnels for some reason, which is just dumb. But overall, this is by far the best episode of the show, as we see Lily's mind travel through time and give herself a very satisfying character arc in this episode. We see her story from when she was a child all the way up to now, and that all of her ramblings throughout the show actually make sense when you look at them in the order in which Lily experiences time. She also helps Jen, Agatha and Billy survive the next trial, which is tarot cards, by sacrificing herself to take out the Salem 7. The 3 then advance to the final trial, where they can complete the Witch's Road by achieving their initial wish that brought them there. Jen finds out that Agatha is the one who took her powers away from her 100 years ago and casts an unbinding spell to get them back, after which she disappears. Agatha then helps Billy find a body in which Tommy can be reincarnated. Billy then also disappears. Agatha then manages to grow a plant with a seed she kept in her locket and thus completes the Witch's Road, but she doesn't get her prize. She then has to fight Rio in a boss battle and gets saved by Billy, who can fly now apparently, and gives a part of his power to Agatha. They then realize that they can't defeat death, and Agatha tells Rio to take Billy instead of her. Somehow this shocks him, even though Agatha has never once appeared to be trustworthy the entire time that the two have known each other. He then telepathically convinces her to sacrifice herself by asking whether this was also the way his son died. I have no idea why he calls him Nicky in this scene, by the way, even though he never even heard anyone call him that before. I just found that to be a little bit weird. He also leaves the premises in his car, even though he's wearing his full superhero costume and we just saw that he can fly and the entire town is just staring at him. It just looks hilarious. At the end of episode 8, it is then revealed that the entire Witch's Road was never real, and just an illusion based on Billy's imagination, and he was in fact responsible for the deaths of the Coven members. In the finale, we learn about Agatha's backstory and her son's death, which Rio announced at birth. Agatha is revealed to have run a scam for hundreds of years, where she assembles a coven to go down the Witch's Road, which didn't actually exist, and then basically rage baits them into attacking her so she could siphon their powers and kill them. After sacrificing herself to Rio, she comes back as a ghost and Billy tries to banish her, but then for some reason doesn't and chooses to trust her again. Just why? They then team up to find Tommy and the show ends. The problem is just that the ending makes everything you just watched make even less sense than it already did. If everything was created by Billy's mind, then why are so many things different from how he says that he imagines them to be? At the start of the show, it's clear that he genuinely believes that the road is an actual physical road you can drive on, for which he even gets made fun of multiple times. Then why isn't it? He also thinks that he killed Jen and Lilia, but they somehow survived. And since Agatha has never actually been on the road, how does she know that they will each be facing personal trials specifically? Why does Agatha complain to Rio about not getting her powers at the end of the road when she knew it was created by Billy the entire time? How does Billy know the ingredients to make the potion in episode 2? I mean, I get that he has mind-reading powers, but Jen even forgot one of the ingredients herself. Also, we've only ever seen him reading anyone's immediate thoughts, not their subconscious or anything, and it's not because he's Wanda's son. He should be much less powerful than her, considering that his brother literally only has super speed. And how does he know that Alice's mother's song is actually a protection spell when all the others, including Alice, don't even know that yet? And if Agatha knew that the Witch's Road isn't real, why is she putting together the worst group of people to siphon power from? Jen can't use her powers, Sharon doesn't have any powers, Billy can't use his powers yet, and she explicitly told Lilia not to attack her because she would take her powers. So Alice is actually the only one for whom it would even make sense to attack her. The antagonists in the show are also just terrible. The Salem 7 basically just stand there menacingly until the witches are finally finished with the ritual. They never really do anything that makes you think that the characters are actually in any danger, especially when we see that the trials themselves are a much bigger threat to them. Then there's Rio, who I also think makes no sense, like, why does she not take Nicholas when he is born? Why can she just give him more time when Agatha asks her for mercy? Is it not her job to take people at the right time, like when they're supposed to die? And why is she satisfied with Agatha dying in the end when her entire motivation is that Billy and Tommy being reincarnated upsets the natural order of things? She just straight up didn't achieve a goal. The scene at the end where Billy asks Agatha, is this how Nicky died, also makes very little sense now. I mean, first off, no it's not. Sure, Nicholas was also taken by Rio, but he was already supposed to be dead before he was born anyway, and Agatha already will have known that Rio will take him eventually. There's really not much she could have done about it, so Billy's guilt trip doesn't really work for me. She also tried her very best to keep her son alive and safe from Rio while she is actively sacrificing Billy for her own personal survival. Nicky's death was not her fault at all, while this is a moral dilemma where she gets to choose which one of them dies. The two situations are completely different from each other, and I have no clue how this one sentence basically convinces Agatha to give up her life for his. The dialogue and the humor are also absolutely excruciating, but at least there are some hilariously dumb lines every now and then, like,
The Salem 7.
Scary black dresses.
So, Agatha's ex is Death.
Who's the querent?
Me, I guess I'm the querent.
I also find it ironic that the show is called Agatha all along, when Billy clearly sticks out as the main character throughout the series, so it was actually not Agatha but Billy all along. These, however, are just things that make the show bad. The real problem with it, however, is that absolutely no one wanted to see this in the first place, and it baffles me that Marvel spent millions of dollars to make a more irrelevant version of WandaVision that's just as bad, and centered around a character that nobody ever cared about to begin with.